Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of my Clockwork Empires Alpha 45 playthrough. So the previous episode, episode 1, was just me going over the new stuff and the patch notes and stuff. And from this point forward, I will be playing a few episodes just so we can see how game development has been affected. So as usual, I'm going to start a new game here. Let's go to New Sogwood. Yeah, that's the jungle biome. That's a little bit more interesting. One thing I will mention is that, again, the map that you can see here it's procedurally generated, but the location of the biome doesn't affect the game as of yet. That's something that developers intend to put in, it's just not implemented yet. So anyway, New Sogwood, I'm going to pick the Dauntless Dare starting loadout, just for fun. It's a little bit more challenging. Progress might be a little bit slower, but there's greater chance of catastrophic failure and starvation, which I think will serve to allow the opportunity for some of the more expanded mechanics like the madness and starvation and cannibalism and stuff like that. So Dauntless Dare, you don't start with any supplies at all, right? You just get the overseers, no materials, no food. And away we go. Yeah, so what I'm hoping to see in this playthrough, there have been a bunch of additions, which we covered more in depth in episode 1, but among them the tree curse and the beetle curse, I don't know exactly what those two mean, as well as expanded cultist mechanics, and also expanded sort of fishman interaction options. So that's one thing I hope I get around to seeing. One thing, if you read the patch notes, so there are extensive patch notes that are released each time there's a big monthly patch. And this one specifically mentioned that although some things... here we go. Although some specific things had been added to the game, the groundwork for additional features had been placed, but had not yet been added to the game. And maybe I'll just talk as I work here. So here are our overseers. As we can see, we've got 5 overseers and 1 NCO and 1 laborer. So we actually do start with 1 laborer. Let's get things going. Very first thing, the carpentry workshop, let's say over here. This is a nice flat area, actually. Let's keep this small for now, just to keep our material needs low. I could build a gigantic carpentry, but that will consume a lot of resources. And just for now, I'm going to put a bed in here. Let's draw out a stockpile, just so we have a central place to put stuff. I'd better get that farm started right away. A good staple crop. Well, I'll go with chilies for now. I need the quick harvest to fill in the food gap. And then I'm going to assign Crispin Woodwick's crew here. Okay, that said, now I'd better set... so I'll flag that area for chopping things down, and we will harvest these coconuts. So I've got 2 crews that are still not engaged. So I'm going to set those guys to mining up this rock. Okay, so we'll let this run for a bit. Yeah, so as I was saying, there were some things mentioned in the patch notes that have not yet been added to the game, and specifically those are a new crop. Everyone knows how excited I am about farming and crops. Let's clear out these tufts of grass. Actually, they look a bit messy. Yeah, the patch notes mentioned grapevines as a growable crop and wine as a producible commodity. Now, again, they're not in the game yet, but the groundwork is in there. Also, possibly of wider interest, the possibility of basically obeliskian forges and obeliskian modules. So this was something that was mentioned a long time ago, early on in the dev process. possibly before there was even um, a stable or experimental branch for players to test. Just in the Gaslamp Games dev blogs, they talked about features they'd like the game to have. And one thing they mentioned is that they didn't want interactions with the Obeliskians to be just sort of random rampaging monsters. And the sight of that chicken reminds me that I want my soldiers to hunt. Because we're going to be very short on food for a few days. Here we go. Go get them, Redigor Goldenton. Yeah, so the devs don't want interactions with the Obeliskians to just be random rampaging monsters. And with cultists as your intermediaries, they'd actually discussed a sort of give and take. If you're able to, if you're okay with some madness, you can trade the sanity of your colony for advances in production, which you may or may not want to do. So the groundwork for some of that is it's in the scripts, but it's not playable. But I'm very excited to see how that's implemented. Maybe you want the Eldritch Cabinetry, which produces, evil and sinister wardrobes or whatever, right? You hopefully, that's within the scope of the dev's vision for this game. I think at every point in the development of the game, the guiding vision has been interesting choices. It's something I've read the devs write about, and it's conceptually it's something I agree with. And basically what it means is if no choice should be so obvious that it is always the first thing. No choice should be so good that you always choose it every time, because then it's no choice at all, and that may as well not be in the game. So if you must have choice, it should be interesting, and there should be no obvious best case. So when we talk about things like cults and Obeliskians and interactions with fishmen, all of those, there are branching decision trees that have no clear, no one option should have a clear advantage over the other, right? All of them should be equally viable for your intended style of play. So with more crops and more organic, a spectrum of decisions available for, these procedural events, I think the game is headed in that direction. And it's all underpinned by a very solid simulation type game, right? Some things are very deterministic. Like you can calculate the growth rate of your chili plants, and from that you can predict a certain amount of yield over a certain amount of time given a certain amount of labor. But if that's all it was, then it would be, if pardon the expression, like clockwork. It would be predictable and rote, and random events can only take you so far, right? So there has to be some degree of interactivity with the simulation. Otherwise, you may as well just watch the simulation run itself. Anyway, so that's enough of me babbling on. The colonies, well, we're off to a bit of a slow start, but I think we're doing okay. We've got all the materials in for the carpentry, and as soon as that's up, we'll have the ability to produce planks out of the timber we've harvested out of these trees. Right, we've got the carpentry superstructure up, but of course it doesn't do anything because we don't have any modules, and nobody assigned to the carpentry. Maybe I can get a head start on the kitchen. Actually, let's check the commodities. I'm very short on stone, although more is being harvested, and I could probably do with, well, we will be chopping down these trees. Okay. Wouldn't be a bad idea now. I think I'll build a kitchen. Again, I could build them bigger, but because we're very, very short of materials and laborers, I want to keep them smaller for now. If I feel like expanding them later, I might actually have to build another kitchen. Anyway, let's plug in some of the modules here. 2 stone ovens should do for now, I think. Again, it is now safe to put modules in the corners of buildings because that long-standing bug has been squashed. One thing that was tweaked was that I believe the transparency of the walls in this view, so the walls are slightly more transparent now, and they were slightly darker before. And it might just be me, but module blueprints, that is these things, the transparent models that indicate where a module will be placed, I think those are actually glowier. Or they kind, or at least they seem that way to me. So it's nighttime, and workers are not as likely to work. Now they're just going to stand around and do the things they do when they're not working, which involves gossip frequently. They'll talk about things. Hattie Kilner. She keeps on talking to people about the monarchy. That's interesting. Well, she is more likely to form relationships with other colonists. She wants to start a cult. That's a little bit worrisome. But otherwise, she seems to have some pretty conventional desires. Let's take a look at Crispin Woodwick. Scholarly. He might make a good scientist if we ever get around to building a laboratory, or possibly a naturalist. And he only wants to make a friend. Again, I'll point out that one new thing in this revision is that colonists will now auto-generate their own journals based on their memories. So it's this block of text here at the bottom. So you can catch up on their biographies if you wonder why they're angry all the time or what the general mood of the colony is like. Again, we can see his competing emotions and which one is dominant in his personality. And all these things are influenced by the quality of their sleep, how recently they've eaten, whether or not they're getting along with other colonists. And colonist interactions are actually an important part of this, because colonists, based on their temperament and their mood, may get along with other colonists or they may not. A colonist who is grouchy because he has to sleep on the floor there's a greater chance that he will get into a slap fight with another colonist, which will make him feel a little bit better, but will make the colonist he slapped less happy. And so the devs have mentioned, this is something, so this game takes a lot of inspiration. It's got Dwarf Fortress in its DNA, right? Actually, let's chop down these trees as well. And this is something that's affectionately referred to as a tantrum spiral. It's basically where an event triggers a bad mood amongst a group of your colonists, which causes them to be jerks to your other colonists, and makes this sort of cycle of grumpiness, which, as the name implies, may spiral out of control, and in this game might result in murder or vandalism. Yeah, but hopefully but there are ways for you to deal with it. You can make people happier by producing booze and a pub for them to consume the booze. You can build a chapel where they can pray and feel better about their place in life. You can make drugs for them. You can grow opium and and turn that into laudanum. If they are cultists, they will sometimes be irrationally happy, which means they will be happy even if they have nothing to eat and nowhere to sleep because they are crazy cultists. Now, having your entire population be crazy cultists can be good and bad. I mean, for the God-fearing citizens of the Empire, that's something you don't want to encourage. But it's something you might want to explore. Who knows, right? It's a new world. Good. So the carpentry is up and running with at least one module. So I'm going to actually, who among the overseers would make for a good? Oh, Leopold Thatchlock has an interesting set of characteristics, but I will get back to him. Okay, I'm just going to assign Hattie Kilner to be our head carpenter. Hattie, I want you to always keep us minimum level of 7 planks in stock at all times. Yeah, let's see. Leopold Thatchlock. He is a laudanum fiend. He is predisposed to consuming laudanum as often and in as great quantities as possible. And morbid. Driven to seek out death and decay. Huh. Presents some personality problems. So, your colonists are naturally averse to, like, butchering human bodies or butchering the bodies of seemingly sentient creatures like raiders and fishmen, but not so the morbid colonist. Also, I believe he is less put off by the presence of dead bodies. So your colonists are also let's see, 2 workers. Sure, I'll accept you. I could have spent some of my, spent my 1 prestige point here to widen the search. I guess I shouldn't have closed that window quite so soon. I could have spent my prestige on the chance that I could find more workers, but I didn't bother. I didn't have a lot of prestige. I need what little prestige is coming in, and 2 workers is more than enough for now. So we can see it's been approximately a day, and the first chili pepper harvest has come in. Oh, Leopold Thatchlock. Just ate an entire basket of fungus. And now he's on to hauling. So that's fine. Without a constructed kitchen, all the food is going to be raw, which means so every colonist accumulates hunger over time. Now, if they eat raw food, the hunger level goes down somewhat, but not entirely. The advantage of cooking your food is that eating a cooked meal reduces the hunger level entirely, regardless of where it is. Which means overall, the colonists will be more satisfied with by eating the same amount of food. Colonists who are hungry, it will reflect that in their personalities. Actually, let's take a look at Amos Floodgate. Okay, he's a bad example. Yeah. Let's take a look at Crispin Woodwick. Maybe you will have a memory pertinent to food. Can't click on Crispin. There we go. Nope. It's a little bit difficult clicking on these buggers sometimes. Okay, Leopold Thatchlock. You can see he has a memory of eating a bushel of raw orange cup fungus. Right, he ate it. It made him a little bit unhappy. You can see the down arrow on the happiness meter. It's not as satisfying. If you're able to process that into a meal, it'll actually have a positive impact on his happiness. Yeah, and so it'll be difficult. It'll be difficult building buildings and doing things that will have individually huge impacts on the personalities of your colonists, and by the just received an overseer. But the emotional impact of the aggregate impact of all of the little things you do, so the decor in the buildings, the availability of meals and beds, and the nearby presence of other happy colonists will affect the aggregate happiness of the colony. So just like a real city, it's full of everything is a moving target. Everything is big picture stuff. You can zoom in on on things all the way down to the individual level, but it's not practical to try and balance the whole colony around the wishes of just one person, frequently because they will have conflicting wishes. And I'm a little bit worried about Prunella Stalvern as well. She wants to try out the more exotic types of meat, and exotic is in quotes, which generally means human flesh or fishman meat. It'll make her happy, but it will certainly upset the other colonists. Speaking of opposing interests. Also, wow, let's see. She's brutish, doomed, and spiritually inclined. She is prime cultist material, I'll tell you that. and she's already a little bit mad. So she's one to keep an eye on. Animals are eating my crops. Really? Oh, I got the alert. I must have missed it. Must have been that jungle fowl I saw skulking around earlier. Yeah, so, that's the first first 3 days in the new colony. I think I'll do a new thing, starting with this series. If you see a colonist you want to take over, if any of my viewers here are interested in having their names inserted into this playthrough, just let me know in the comments. It's easy to do. You can just change the name of any colonist, right? I'm not going to. And then you'll be able to see yourself running around and being chased by fishmen and possibly being killed by giant beetles and things. Yeah. Otherwise, so we've got the colony underway. When I've got a bit more food saved up, I'm going to switch over the chili field to a maize field. Yeah, I'm not going to get into crop. Oh, and for those of you who are wondering, my crop talk series is still on the way. But as I was sitting down to get it done, Alpha 45 came out, and that will take precedence always. So when I've got a little extra time, I'm going to do a video series focusing mainly on crop mechanics, because I think there's a lot of depth to be explored there. But that's not going to affect the schedule of the stable release videos. Anyway, when I've got a bunch of food stockpiled, I'm going to switch over to a more efficient crop. It takes longer to grow. The maize crop, in this case, takes longer to grow, but it yields. You'll get more food out of it at the end, and it's a better and more efficient use of labor. So, I think the colony's in pretty good shape so far. Well, I guess we'll just leave it here. Don't want this to run on too long. So, my name is Alfred. The game is Clockwork Empires. This is Alpha 45. It was released just a few days ago. Now, Clockwork Empires is in early access. It's being developed by Gaslamp Games, available on Steam and on the Humble Store and directly through Gaslamp Games. Being in early access means it's not done. It's not feature complete. It's things will be broken and need polishing and balancing. But you can see where the game is at through maybe my playthroughs, and there are several other people who do videos like this as well, all worth checking out. So, until then, I'll catch you next episode. Have a good one.